Hi, it's Mr. Waterworth here back at the Haas TM1P. What I want to do is a safety walk around, just some general things to think about while you're working on this CNC milling machine. Well, there's a lot going on with it, so you want to be really careful and deliberate in whatever you're doing. You don't want to be fooling around and paying attention at all times. You want to make sure you're paying attention at all times when you're working on this machine. First off, when it comes to operating the machine, make sure there's only one person operating the controls here. If someone's got their head or their hands inside the machine, all right, we've got tools in here that can be moving with the machine control and things turning on and off. And so if someone's in there, you make sure that no one else is touching this controller, all right? That's probably one of the most important things so you don't hurt anybody else. Before you start the machine, make sure there's no tools on the table or inside. Kind of take a quick look around, make sure there's no loose tools. You want to make sure that, like, the vise handle is not just sitting there on the vise like this is right here. It could smash into the door or the window and break things. So we make sure that that's out. Just make sure there's no debris. Look around the machine, make sure the area is clear and safe. You know, there's no tripping hazards, there's no coolant leaking out. Speaking of coolant, let's go around to the side of the machine and take a look at the coolant level. That's down about 2 inches, which isn't bad, but it could use a little bit of attention, but it's certainly not desperate in need of adding coolant. But that's what we check to see how much we have. Back here you can check at the pump, which is right here, and the connections going to the pump into the machine, that there's no leaks. That's a real important thing to do. Any leaks need to be cleaned up right away. Okay, when you are installing tools, make sure that you're very careful about how you're holding the tool near the spindle. You can get, this is a pinch point right here between the tool and the spindle itself, and I'm going to get a little different angle of that in a minute here to show you what it looks like when you're loading a tool and how to do it properly. So here's a close-up of the spindle. It's empty right now, there's no tool in it, but we're gonna put this tool in here and attach it to the spindle. So one thing you want to be careful of safety-wise is when you're doing that you're not grabbing a tool like this. The sharp edges down here can cut you, and this sort of bounces up and down a little bit, so you're better off using a rag to hold it underneath, but make sure that you keep your fingers underneath this area called the flange. You want to make sure the keys and the keyway line up. Put it in like that, and now it's safe. The same thing when you take it out. You put the rag underneath, press the button and take the tool out. Okay? So another thing to think about is when you're working inside of the enclosure. So you may be fitting something into the vise. You could be looking around inside. You might have your head tilted inside the machine. You have to be really aware of what's going on around you. Right up here above you are all these tool bits. All right, there's one right here in the spindle. You could easily knock your head into one of these, and it's going to cause some damage. So it's called situational awareness. You really need to know what's going on around you at all times in order to stay safe. Other things to think about, sometimes when we're setting up, we have to have the spindle running. All right, so that tool's spinning right now, and the doors are open. I can go near that tool if I want. I want to be aware of where I am in proximity to that tool at all times, because those can really shred you up pretty quickly and give you some bad cuts, and depending on the tools, you can do a lot of damage. So other things to look for, unsafe setups. If the work pieces and clamps are loose, they could fly off. So you want to make sure when you have a part in your vise, especially, that vise is tightened down, that it's not loose, because the part will go flying out, and that could be extremely dangerous. When these doors are open, things can happen, and the side panels as well. On each end, there's these side panels. They can lift up, you lift them up for cleaning. Make sure you close those back down again. Make sure you check they're closed at the beginning of your workday or whenever you're going to be using the machine. So the air hose is some people kind of act like this is a toy. This is not a toy at all. There's 100 pounds of compressed air coming out of that thing. All right, that's enough pressure coming out of there to damage someone's eyeball, to actually knock it loose. So you can destroy somebody's vision. So you never ever play around with this. You never ever point this at anybody. It's only used to spray down the vise in the part to get the chips and the coolant off. That's all it's for. Don't ever play around with it. When you are running a job and the spindle's going and it's in full operation, make sure you don't walk away from the machine. If you need to, make sure you get the teacher's attention, and or you could always hit the feed hold button right here, all right, and then you can come back later and press cycle start again. But never leave the machine unattended while it's in motion. And the last big concern we have, of course, is safety glasses. We want you to always wear safety glasses when you're on this machine because of the flying metal chips and the potential for eye injuries. So that's just kind of the basics of safety on the Haas mill.